The millionaire lay perfectly still beneath crisp white hospital sheets, his eyes closed, his breathing slow, while every doctor in the room believed he remained trapped in a coma. Yet he was fully awake, silently listening to every word spoken around him. He had made a shocking decision to pretend he was unconscious after overhearing relatives arguing over his fortune. But nothing prepared him for the heartbreaking confession of the quiet nurse who cared for him every single day, a confession that would shatter his heart and change both of their lives forever. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances still exist, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so our family and our community can continue spreading stories that remind us compassion can transform lives. To the outside world, he seemed to have everything money could buy, but behind the expensive suits and luxury homes was a lonely man who had spent decades choosing business over family. When he suddenly collapsed from exhaustion during an important meeting, doctors believed he had slipped into a temporary coma. Within hours, his hospital room became filled with visitors whose concerns seemed strangely tied to his wealth. As Preston quietly listened, he heard distant relatives discussing who might inherit his company. Some spoke about selling the business before he was even gone. Others complained about waiting too long for lawyers to divide his fortune. The words hurt more deeply than his illness. For the first time in years, he wondered whether anyone genuinely cared about him instead of his money. Every afternoon, one nurse entered his room with remarkable gentleness. Her name was Claire Donovan, and unlike everyone else, she never discussed his wealth. She adjusted his blanket, checked his medication, cleaned the room, and spoke to him with quiet respect even though she believed he couldn't hear her. Claire's life had not been easy. She was raising her younger brother after their parents died in a highway accident several years earlier. She worked long shifts while helping him finish school. Despite constant financial pressure, she greeted every patient with patience and warmth. Her co-workers admired her strength, though few understood how much she sacrificed outside the hospital. Several days passed before the moment that changed everything. One peaceful afternoon, sunlight streamed through the hospital window as Claire quietly sat beside Preston's bed during her lunch break. Believing she was completely alone, she gently held his hand for a moment. Then she softly began speaking. She admitted she wasn't asking him to wake up because of his fortune or influence. She simply hoped he would recover because everyone deserved another chance to live differently. She confessed that caring for him had reminded her of her own father, who had never regained consciousness after the accident that took their parents. She still regretted never telling him how proud she was to be his daughter. A single tear escaped Preston's closed eye. He had spent days hearing greed. Now, for the first time, he heard genuine compassion. Claire quietly apologized, believing she had become too emotional. She smiled sadly, wished him peace, and returned to her duties without realizing the man she thought was unconscious had heard every word. That afternoon, Preston made a decision. The following morning, doctors entered his room for another examination. To everyone's astonishment, Preston slowly opened his eyes. The hospital celebrated what they called a remarkable recovery. His relatives quickly surrounded him with dramatic displays of affection. Preston simply watched. Their words sounded completely different now that he knew what they had said while believing he couldn't hear them. Later that day, he privately asked the hospital director to arrange a meeting with Nurse Claire. When she entered the room, she expected routine medical questions. Instead, Preston thanked her. He revealed that he had heard every word she had spoken during those quiet afternoons. Claire's face turned pale with embarrassment. She apologized repeatedly, afraid she had crossed professional boundaries. Preston gently reassured her there was nothing to apologize for. Her honesty had given him something money never could. Hope. He admitted that hearing her compassion forced him to confront the emptiness of his own life. He realized he had built an empire while neglecting meaningful relationships. For years, he believed success meant accumulating wealth. Claire had reminded him that true success was measured by kindness. After leaving the hospital several weeks later, Preston made remarkable changes. He appointed experienced leaders to manage daily operations so he could focus on charitable projects instead of endless meetings. He established a healthcare foundation providing scholarships for nursing students facing financial hardship. The first scholarship proudly carried the names of Claire's late parents after learning about their sacrifice. Claire never asked for recognition. She continued caring for patients with the same quiet dedication she always had. Months later, Preston invited her to attend the opening of a new patient support center funded by his foundation. During the ceremony, he publicly explained that one compassionate nurse had taught him the greatest lesson of his entire life. The audience applauded, but Claire simply smiled through tears. She hadn't changed because of recognition. She had always believed every patient deserved dignity, whether rich or poor. Inspired by her example, dozens of hospital employees began volunteering extra time mentoring young nurses and supporting struggling families. One sincere confession had created a ripple of kindness reaching people who would never even know its origin. Preston often visited the hospital afterward, not as a wealthy businessman seeking attention but as a grateful survivor who spent afternoons encouraging patients facing difficult recoveries. He finally understood that listening to another person's pain could heal wounds no medicine could reach. Before this story comes to its heartfelt conclusion, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment telling us whether you believe one act of genuine kindness can completely change someone's life. As warm afternoon sunlight filled the hospital gardens once again, Preston realized the greatest gift he had ever received wasn't his fortune, his company, or even his recovery. It was hearing the honest words of someone who expected nothing in return. Claire discovered that simple compassion, freely given, often reaches hearts we never realize are listening. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Always remember that the kind words you speak today may become the very reason someone chooses hope instead of despair tomorrow.